Okay, I'm back. We're going to have another video here. It is May 31st, 2016. So, obviously I've changed my environment, changed my perspectives. I believe that it's important to have a healthy, happy outlook. It's difficult. I don't want to give this a lot of focus. It's difficult for me in the grid to have a happy outlook when I'm living in a vehicle and I'm around other people. Now I'm trying to overcome what I feel are some major challenges that I've experienced. And I want to do a fair amount of self-healing while I'm here. I understand that happiness is something that we have to create for ourselves. Nature doesn't do the healing for us. So I think about certain memories where there's at least a simulation of happiness, whether it was really a happy moment or not. Sometimes our brain plays tricks on us, and there's an aspect of our consciousness that seems stuck sometimes in a gear, our clothing stuck, literally, in the bike chain. And we're thinking about the grass being greener on the other side. We're thinking about the past and how great things were then. There could be a song associated with it, and just how great things were at that moment. And really, there's something about our brain that's looking at reality that way. At that moment, we may not have been seeing how great things were. It may not have been the summer of '69. And, I like a lot of you, maybe have missed out on certain childhood pleasures and dealt with certain traumas growing up. And sometimes the list is long, and it's difficult for us to actually be in a state of happiness. As for myself, I've had people tell me that things I talk about are toxic, negative, and I feel like I've talked about and reported on things that need to be reported on. But I've also felt my own persecution, and I felt like I've walked into an incarnation to where, some people see me as their enemy. So it's difficult for me to be happy in this body. It's like the ultimate challenge. It's the ultimate battle with myself, with my demons. It's the ultimate battle between myself and my demons, or the archons. The battle, I think, is worth winning. It's very difficult to be in my shoes and feel like, you've taken on some attack and feel a sense of isolation, but also feel happiness. There's a part of me that does feel gratitude. There's a part of me that does feel that I am living today, and I can speak for today, walking through this forest without fear. I actually walked up on a guy doing my last video, and he didn't jump or stare at me in my presence, or, I kind of just turned around and walked back the way I came. I'm not bothered by that. Not bothered by the fact that I thought I was completely alone, that I actually bumped into someone and realizing that I'm still in civilization. I'm trying to be okay with civilization because I need to help people. I need to continue to speak about these things. And, I think in some cases I need to be open to being in the city, being in the grid, being in the house. Part of this is part of my nomadic expression of my current life experience. Traveling to different places, picking up on the energy in those places, seeking a sense of inner peace and healing in those places, greater connection to source, greater connection to nature, greater connection to myself and my higher thoughts, bringing my higher self into my body. So, happiness, not qualified to make a video how to be happy. I recognize the importance of happiness, and I look for sources of genuine happiness, simple forms of happiness, without it being selfishly based. And, finding excuses to experience some happiness. To put out the intention to walk into a grocery store where people may be the matrix and put out a field of positivity, of good energy, a positive stabilizing energy, a protective force, a force field of good. I play with those thoughts, and I do so more now than ever. I have the right to be happy in this world. Living in a world of misery actually keeps a lot of people away. It's sad because someone in misery may feel could really use the company of another, the love of another, but it does not attract. It does not attract. Someone in sadness over heavy shit that happened to them does not attract the healer in some cases. In some cases, it might be nice for that to drop out of the sky, but whether we like the way certain physics of society or sociology work, law of attraction, people want to be around the people that are successful and positive and feeling good about their lives. And, I'm a very deep, introspective, honest person, but I can also see through analyzing my own language and my own videos and, in a lot of things. There definitely is an aspect of me that wants to be a scientist in explaining how bad or how serious this particular situation is, this, that, and the other. And, some could perceive I get lost in that. That throws me out of balance by putting a great deal of my investigative abilities in certain directions. So, I feel myself here at this ripe age of 36 years old, but also fairly healthy for my age, and thinking about all the things that I want to do with my physical body while I'm in the physical body, and skydiving and being on a jet ski and being out in the ocean and not holding myself back. If the universe wants to put me in a situation where I can earn or receive $1 million, even though it's not a whole lot, I can make $1 million stretch. I'd love to run a small business and maybe even rent a beach house out in the ocean. I want to start playing in my imagination while I'm here. If I can have anything and do anything and be anywhere, and what would I do? And the feeling of that success. And the acknowledgement as I close this video that I am a living success now. That I am in the age of being able to come to you. Here I was a week ago thinking about how I don't like the cost of $100 a month for 10 gigs on a Verizon prepaid. Doesn't matter. As long as I'm still doing what I'm doing, and I'm bringing money in, and my RV is still running, and I'm taking care of the RV, and I'm learning more about RV maintenance, I've got nothing but a future of travel ahead of me. And by constantly moving and maintaining my health along the way and becoming better at it along the way and find a sense of peace along the road and growing as a person in my travels and learn how to adapt to different people's energy and negativity that I might find, regardless of their race and regardless of whether I think they're eyeballing me or not, and whether I think they're doing so because of my race. In some cases, it's simply my energy. As an outsider that they don't understand. And the fact of the matter is, the world is full of outsiders and insiders going every which way. And there's a lot of resentment towards the outsider right now. And I know that I held it in my heart when I was in Portland, as if the outsiders had something to do with the specific cost of rent rising. They were just the end result of social engineering. Go to Portland and get enlightened. What a hawk of fucking bullshit. Only to go to Costilla County seeking greater enlightenment, only to walk into a hell I'm grateful I was able to get out of while I could. I survived Portland. I survived Costilla County. And I'm surviving the current experience. And so, the very fact that I've made it this far in the time-space reality where the future is now, to a certain degree, I've survived thus far. And that's something to be proud of. Alex Answer here, May 31st, 2016. It's definitely a marathon day of a lot of different videos, a lot of various topics. I want to talk about the concept of freeing our minds, freeing our consciousness. I see a strong connection for me in going out in nature and freeing my mind from pain, from programming, but faith without works is dead. In other words, just can't go out in nature and expect to be healed. You have to be able to actually free your mind in any environment. And this is mastery of self. This is mastery of one's senses, living in this body. But for me, coming to nature helps me tap into this inspiration, this focus. Even my speech patterns are slightly different. I feel on point. My heart feels strong. I see the irony there of going to a Free Your Mind conference while living off the grid in 2013. And despite the fact that I didn't get to know Mark Passio too well, some of the other people there at the conference, we were there for a reason, and it was definitely a time and a place for me to experience. And that was 2013. And it was a time of great freedom for me, living in Costilla County, before going back to Portland in 2014. It's important that we realize that there's only one letter difference between fear and free. And there's many dimensions to living in freedom, but ultimately, part of our happiness and the expansion of our consciousness, and they're tied together, is freeing our mind from limitations. We want to free our body physically of a prison, but we want to free our own mind of the prisons of our mind. There's a reason why the businesses of self-hypnosis do so well. Actually, as a young child, I was fascinated by the idea of making your own subliminal tapes to correct your own consciousness. There is something robotic about our thinking. There is something automatic about our thinking. And whether we like it or not, whether our egos are bruised or not by certain realities, sometimes we adopt the walk of our parents. Sometimes we adopt some of the thinking patterns or behaviors of our parents. Maybe it's learned behavior. Maybe it's genetic. Maybe we don't know. Maybe we obsess on that too much instead of recreating who we are. And we have the ability to recreate ourselves and free ourselves from the bondage of the person that we were prior. So, on the heels of a video about happiness and discussing, I like the idea of, happiness of the body through vacation and travel and good relationships with people that also end on a positive note and not in heartbreak. I think that's important for people to really experience love and affection and intimacy, to realize that sometimes things are only for a period in time. But mindful happiness that comes from self-fulfillment. I also believe that we're here to fulfill certain tasks on this planet, but there's also the obsession that can hold us down from being in a free state, that keeps us in a serious mode, that tells us we're not good enough, that tells us that we haven't accomplished enough, and it affects our heart, it affects our view of ourselves. And I know that I've gone through that as well. I haven't accomplished enough because I know that I'm capable of 85% more. Not to put a number on it, but I tend to think that a lot of us humans are operating at 10 to 15% of what we actually are, including myself. That we have a much greater potential, but because we may not be living out that greater potential, we may be beating ourselves up. This is something that a lot of us deal with, and we struggle with that freedom of our minds as a result. So, freeing our mind is a very important thing for us to consider. For me, part of my theme that I've been going through, a recurring theme of my travels, finding peace wherever I am, maintaining health wherever I am. I may retreat into certain natural areas for prolonged periods of time. I'm also setting a positive example. That's what I'm doing right now. And I will also change up my environment, re-enter society, deal with the people at the grocery store, deal with the people in society. And I'm working on that being a more positive thing. I'd like to free myself from the pain of my own past and work with other human beings again. I want to be on TV again. I want to be working out of a different studio, perhaps somewhere other than Portland. I want to be at the right place at the right time. And I'm pointing out my intentions that before my life is over, I'm going to experience some good times. I'm going to experience some new good times that I want to be like, this is the most awesome experience that I've ever had in my life. I want to feel that way. I want to feel like, oh yeah, I missed out on a lot of experiences during my youth, only to experience those things later on in my adulthood. Health's not something that I'm obsessed on. I wouldn't eat certain things if I was. However, I do feel blessed with longevity to a certain degree and experience as well, in addition to looking kind of younger for my age. Good life experience. So we're never too old to free our mind from certain habits, from certain ways of looking at things, from certain ways of being stuck in certain situations because we keep thinking at things, looking at things a certain way. We can free ourselves from those perceived limitations and perceive things in full color that we couldn't have perceived before. It's like I'm describing taking it one step at a time on a ladder. On a ladder, one step at a time is how we ascend the ladder. So we free our mind of one thing at our time. We free our mind one layer at a time, returning to a more conscious, able state of being and awareness. That's about all I could say on that matter.